If you have a simple IRA here in Georgia, there's probably one big question that's been on your mind. How in the world do you get to that money without getting slammed by huge penalties? Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down the rules for 2025 step by step so you can feel confident about your retirement savings.
So let's get right to it. You've got this simple IRA, and, life happens. Maybe a big expense pops up out of nowhere, and you start wondering, hey, can I tap into that retirement fund? It's a super important question, and the answer, well, it's a little more complicated than you might think.
First off, let's do a quick refresher. A simple IRA, that stands for Savings Incentive Match Plan for employees, is a really fantastic retirement tool, especially for small businesses. But, and this is key, it comes with its own unique playbook, especially when it comes to taking money out.
And trust me, not knowing those rules can come with a seriously steep price tag. So that brings us to the heart of the matter, the high cost of cashing out early and really understanding the penalties that could be waiting for you. Okay, the baseline rule is pretty straightforward. Once you hit that magic age, 59 and a half, you can take money from your simple IRA without getting hit with a penalty. But, and you've got to remember this, you will still owe federal and Georgia state income taxes on that money. The penalty is an extra hit on top of your taxes.
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? What happens if you need to get your hands on those funds before you're 59 and a half? Well, this is where the system is kind of designed to make you think twice by hitting you with a financial penalty.
For most typical retirement accounts, if you take an early withdrawal, you're looking at a 10% penalty. And that's on top of your regular income taxes. That's a pretty significant bite out of your savings, right? But for simple IRAs, that's not even the full story.
And this is where you really need to lean in and listen closely. The rules for this specific type of account have a special twist that can make that 10% penalty look pretty small. It's a tiny detail that can cost you big time if you don't know about it. That's right, 25%. In certain situations, the penalty for pulling money out of your simple IRA early can jump to a massive 25%. I mean, that's a quarter of your withdrawal just gone. And that's before you even think about state and federal taxes. So what on earth triggers a penalty that huge?
It all comes down to one little thing called the 2-year rule. You see, with simple IRAs, when you take the money out is just as critical as why. Timing is, quite literally, everything.
Now this is where it gets interesting. Look at how this is laid out. If you take money out within the first 2 years of your very first contribution, bam, you get slapped with that giant 25% penalty. But if you just wait until after that 2-year window is closed, the penalty drops way back down to the standard 10%.
This timeline just makes it crystal clear. For those first 2 years, that's 24 months from the day your first dollar went in, you are in what I'd call the 25% penalty zone. But once you cross that line into year 3 and beyond, the risk goes way down. You're not totally in the clear if you're under 59 and a half, but at least you're out of that 25% danger zone.
Okay, so I know, those penalties sound pretty terrifying, but there is some good news here. The IRS has created a few specific exceptions, lifelines really, that can let you bypass these early withdrawal penalties completely. Let's take a look. So what are these lifelines? Well, the IRS lets you take money out penalty-free for some pretty major life events. As you can see, we're talking about things like a permanent disability or if you have really high medical bills that insurance didn't cover. It also covers things like paying for health insurance if you're unemployed. And then there are some good things too, like buying your first home. You can take out up to $10,000 for that, or paying for college. That last one, SSPPs, that's a bit more complex, and you definitely want to talk to a pro about that. Now this is so important, I have to say it again. Qualifying for one of those exceptions gets you out of the 10% or 25% penalty. It does not, I repeat, not get you out of paying your income taxes. The money you take out still counts as income for the year, and both the federal government and the state of Georgia are going to want their piece.
So, trying to juggle all of this, the 2-year rule, all the different exceptions, the tax side of things, it can make your head spin. So let's pull it all together into a clear, simple 3-step strategy so you can make the right move. You know, as the folks at Georgia Safe Retirement Planners point out, these rules are confusing for a reason. The whole point is to make you pause and make smart, informed choices instead of emotional ones that could hurt you down the road. This is where getting some clear guidance is just priceless.
So here's a solid game plan. First, a consultation. Just get everything on the table, your accounts, your goals, all of it. Second, build a strategy.
a personalized plan that looks at the timing and taxes from every angle. And third, implement that plan, ideally with some support to make sure you stay on the right track.
At the end of the day, the goal is actually really simple: clarity and confidence. It's all about making sure you don't end up accidentally handing over a huge chunk of your own hard-earned retirement money in the form of penalties and taxes you didn't need to pay.
And that kind of leaves us with one final thing to think about. We all plan for retirement, right? But life has a funny way of throwing curveballs. Knowing these rules isn't just about avoiding penalties. It's about knowing how your financial plan can actually support you when the unexpected happens. So the real question is your plan ready?